I really don't even know where to jump in. Unfortunately, I think that might be the best spot. Good Lord, look at that. Well, decided I might just maybe try talking. I have such a hard time doing that because I say things when I talk. I say things and sometimes people don't like them. It gets me in trouble. I haven't posted anything anywhere for a while except for this one Instagram account. I've been posting the things that I've been working on. I got overwhelmed. Like, and I mean, I thought I was in bad shape, and then
Say hello, Rosie. Are you running from the camera? Say hello, Rosie.
there's the view out my front window. See my lovely privacy fence? So that is my little basket of motivation. I'll show you in a little bit. These are little behind the scenes look. The things I sit on. My heavy stuff I keep very nearby to where I work doing my sedentary thing because it really needs to be that easy for me to succeed in order for me to do so. Excuse you, you don't have the floor. I mean, you like literally have the floor, but you don't have the floor right now. I have the floor. Shh. Okay. So this is, it's kind of a catch-all. I have to be very careful about not letting it be a catch-all because there's the front door. This is my cutting table. See, I have my great big cutting mat, and underneath it I have my great big huge wool pressing mat. I just got done getting this area set up, and I have been able to get more work done with things set up this way. Like I've finished multiple projects in this one spot, and I think my family would tell you that is unbelievable for me because I normally can't finish more than one project in the same spot. I have this weird thing. I never knew how to explain it until recently. I kind of thought there was some weird thing that was broken in my head, and now I am coming to learn that I'm not the only person that has this issue. I can't really necessarily have a dedicated office or workspace or studio. Like, I've tried. And I get everything set up to where it's all, you know, I can reach everything and I can see everything and it's great. First of all, if I have too many supplies visible, it overwhelms me. I have too many ideas and I cannot accomplish a thing because I have too many, I want to start too many things. So I don't finish anything. You should see the boxes of unfinished projects I have over there in that other room. It is embarrassing. So I now know that I can't keep all of my materials out where I can see them if I ever want to have a chance of making them into anything. I can only look at them when it's time to go shopping for a specific project. So, learning about myself here. It's nice. And not so nice at times. I will get a space set up to where I know where everything is, and I can get to everything I need, and then I'll just work. And I'll get this one project done, and it'll make a mess. And it'll move things around in the room. Suddenly the room won't be as tidy as it was before. Now I've messed up the job that I did before. And even when I'm making progress at the project I'm working on, I'm still, in the back of my mind, I'm creating this backwards motion in this larger project of just keeping my workspace clean. So then I clean up, but now it seems like the energy from the room is gone. Does that make sense? Like, working on that project sucked all of the creative energy out of that space. And I felt like I had to move. I had to pick everything up and set up a new space somewhere else. And over the years, I have set up a lot of workspaces. I'm sorry, I've got this going on here. Oh, you're gonna stop now, huh? Okay, what are you looking for? What are you looking for?
What are you looking for? I hope you're not trying to dig a hole in this blanket because I don't want you to do that. Could you not? Could you just not? Let's just not do that, okay? It's a blanket. You just sit on it, okay? Don't destroy the blanket, please. Here, there's Bear Bear. Have Bear Bear. Have this. Have this. Sit down. Sit. Sit. Please be good. Rosie. That's the opposite of what I asked you to do. Now you know you're a sweetheart. Okay, can you sit down on the blanket just for a minute? Please don't chew it up, okay? Let me finish what I was doing. Can I finish what I was doing? You're distracting me mightily.
No, for heaven's sake. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I wanted to say something too real quick before I forget that I also have these plants area over here where I have my clones. I don't know if you can see out the window. I don't know if you can see that black bootstrap farmer tray right there. That's hopefully going to be lemon balm pretty soon. So anyway, over the years I set up a lot of workspaces and then ended up just moving them, taking them back down. And my poor husband, my goodness. I mean, like, I moved everything that I could myself, but there were things that I was constantly having to ask him for help with, you know, like hanging things. And of course, you know, every time I wanted the room moved, I'd have to move lights, I'd have to move shelves, and there'd be new holes in the wall, so I'd have to patch the old holes in the walls and repaint, and it was always kind of a hassle. And I eventually just stopped being attached at all to the idea of having a permanent workspace. And then I heard an artist talking about, a professional artist, like, you know, fine artist, talking about how usually in an artist studio everything's on wheels, and this is kind of why. It's not necessarily that a project sucked all the energy out of the space, it's that sometimes your brain just sort of needs the novelty of a new space. Sometimes you're adjusting to new light, like sometimes the light changes and you have to adjust. Sometimes you just need a different perspective. Rearranging everything, tipping everything on its head, and it's amazing how much of an impact that has. My ability to make things, to think about things and be inspired. And so my goal now is not so much to have the perfect workspace, which is funny because now that I stopped aiming for it, I actually have it. This is working out pretty well. I have my plants out here where I can keep a close eye on them. I saw my first tiny little baby grasshopper of the summer and squished him. I wish I could get them all. The grasshoppers are nuts around here, and I can't seem to get anything way to survive the summer. That big, I don't know if you can see it anymore, that big green plant sitting on the table underneath the hummingbird feeder. I've had that one for a couple of years, and it survived being outside during the summer quite a bit, but it's pretty tough. It's a crunchy plant is what it is. Anyway, so I got my first grasshopper of the season yesterday. That's what I was saying. And so a lot of this stuff is going to spend a whole bunch more time indoors. Man, you get a grasshopper in a plant like this, where it's, you know, got that nice, it's like a big old plate of salad. And, man, one grasshopper can do a heck of a lot of damage in one night. Same with those hornworms, tomato hornworms. My God, they don't just eat tomatoes, but I do have tomatoes out there. I get them every year. So a lot of these are gonna stay right where they are, and I'm gonna try to get them outside enough to keep them from getting leggy. I've got about 15 or so pothos clones over there. I'm trying to cultivate a green thumb here, trying to fake it until I make it sort of thing. And pothos is the best plant ever. If you don't think that you have a green thumb, just get you some pothos. Do a quick jog through YouTube about that particular plant and about how to make more of them, and go to work. And it's not even that much work, and you will feel better about your ability to grow things. I have found that there are just some plants that don't get along with me very well, and there are some plants that I have no problem whatsoever growing in abundance, like spearmint, like lemon balm, pothos apparently. There's several houseplants. There's also some houseplants that I just cannot grow. I can't grow succulents to save my life, except for aloe. I got a bunch of aloe out there. And ivy. Had some ivy that I brought home from Lowe's, and man, it was doing okay, and then I put it outside. I might have got it too much sun. I don't know. It's kind of a delicate little plant. My zinnias are finally getting ready to fly. I got one zinnia flower out there, and a whole bunch more getting ready to bloom. A whole bunch more. I say a whole bunch more. There's 3 seeds that actually took in each of 2 containers from 3 or 4 packets of old zinnia seeds that I put in each one of those. They were really old. They were like years old. So I'm happy that any of them germinated at all. Anyway, I've basically got the perfect setup now. This table, it says Husky on it. Got this from Home Depot, I think. And this is, this is a shop table. It's an adjustable height table. It has a crank over there on that end. And I attached a couple of power strips to the legs with zip ties so that I have power, at the table wherever I move the table. And the table's on casters, and it's a very sturdy table. I love this thing. It's the perfect size for my cutting mat and my big pressing mat, and it makes it a really cool multi-purpose thing. Like, it's big enough for all my big rulers. So yeah, I like it. I do wish it had a lock on it. If it had a lock on this drawer, then I could actually use it for storing my rotary cutters and stuff too. That would be really nifty, but it doesn't. That's okay. I digress. So I have been able, I'm calling this basically the perfect setup, because I've been able to build access to everything that I need to be able to reach, to be able to get a whole bunch of different things worked on at once, because that's kind of the way I work. It seems like I don't get a whole lot done, but it's because every time I do one thing, I'm working on several things, because I just have a bunch of stuff going on. Like, for instance, okay, this is an ongoing project that I'm going to start here before too long for a video. This is going to be a rag quilt for Rosie to sleep on, and it should be a little sturdier because it's going to be denim, but it's also going to have all of these big flower patterns. I don't know if you can see, sorry, if you can see any of this. It's these great big prints that always come with fat quarter bundles. I always have a real hard time figuring out what to do with these prints. So I just went through and cut them all up to make a nice, cute, flower-themed sleeping mat for Rosie. I think it's going to be adorable. So I'm going to do that. That's one project. And then that same fabric is stuff that I cut up for this into 1.5 inch squares for a Bible bag that I'm making for a special order. And this is also the pieces for the duffel bag that I'm working on too, that I have up on Instagram right now. This is another unfinished project. I'm working out a problem with the handles on that, so that's over here. This basket of batiks right here is another ongoing project. Actually a couple ongoing projects, but it's what I'm working on right here. Okay, so this is all part of the same experiment. What I need to do, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. Here we go. Okay. So these are 1.5 inch batik squares that whenever they're sewn together, they're going to be this size. Okay. And then I also have these pieces that I'm making a bunch of hexes out of. This is going to be foliage, but what I want to try to work out is which shape is best for the leaves. So I'm going to make a block of each one, and I was sorting fabric for those two projects while I was in the process of sorting it for some other projects also. I'm getting a lot of the greens sorted out, so I have this also, which is just more batiks, but this is all 1.5 inch strip. So I'm cutting it up into 1.5 inch squares also, just to have in a tray like this, so that I can work on a mini project whenever the mood strikes me, and it does often. I really enjoy working with 1.5 inch squares or postage stamps. It's just one of my favorite fussy things to do with my hands. This little tray right here, this is for greeting cards. So whenever I have a fabric that I'm working on and I see a little spot or something where I can fussy cut something out for, you know, to put on a card, whatever, I saw something like this flower. How freaking gorgeous is that flower all by itself? So I was just kind of thinking about just cutting that out to use in a card at some point. I have these different piles in different stacks, and I know what I'm going to do with them when I set them there. This is all just scraps that I need to do something with, and I do not like to throw away fabric. So I will find a way to do something with pretty much every scrap of everything that I get my hands on, especially when it's like this expensive, you know, fancy schmancy fabric. Like this is quilt shop stuff, and most of it was fat quarter bundles, which makes it even more expensive. So I don't like to throw any of it away. So I will get it into the smallest possible usable unit. You know, like if I can get a 1.5 inch square out of a scrap, then I will. Smaller than that is called a crumb, or sometimes they're strings. But like if a string is a 1/2 inch or more narrow, 1/2 inch or narrower, 1/2 inch or thinner, I don't know, less than a 1/2 inch, it's not really good for much except either gluing to something like for a greeting card, or making into confetti for another project that I'll show you later. So anyway, these are crumbs, and these I've been picking through and using some of them for this other project that I started, that I got from an idea that a lady on YouTube had, and as soon as I remember the name of her channel, I will definitely put it in the description. I can't remember right now. This is not my idea though. There was a lady that does these meditation scrolls, and she uses little teeny tiny bits of fabric like this, and she actually, like these little wooden spools, this was her idea, and I had my husband make this for me to store them on while I'm working on them. And it's like this was just a cigar box, and he added this hardware and stuff, and then I got these spools off of Amazon. Anyway, there's like needles and random stuff in here that I don't know where else to store them right now. But I just put the crumbs here, and then whenever I have time, she didn't do this actually. She was just sewing the crumbs to each other without anything else to start with, because this is my first one. I actually used a strip of muslin as foundation and tacked that around this, and so what I will do is just go through, and I was trying to keep them separate. I know that there was an order to this, and I think I just completely lost it. I think I might be trying to do like a warm and a cool maybe, but man, I messed that up with this blue, didn't I? Anyway, so just add a piece, you know, to cover whatever, and then sew it on and do whatever decorative stitches. Like she was doing a whole bunch of different nifty, and I have no idea what it's going to look like. I just know that I want to do it. What you can do with it too is what she was, I think she was the one that said this, whenever you get done with these strips of crazy quilt-esque sort of like a, it's like almost like a sashiko crazy quilt kind of, I don't know, but you can take these strips that you made, you can sew those together. I would probably use stabilizer, but you can make something else out of those. So I don't know what's going to end up happening with that. I just know that this is where I put the pieces to do that. And I also end up with, like, this is a piece of wool that I'm probably going to end up using for a needle book. I just put it here, but that way I'll know where it is. See, I just... Okay, and this is another one that I've got going. I've got one for the economy fabrics going. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish it or not. This is how this works. You take your receipt paper here, and then you take a strip of fabric that's, you know, too narrow to do anything else with, and then you put it in the sewing machine, and you use a really tiny stitch so that it's basically just a straight line of thread through the paper. If you put the stitches way far apart, it's just puncturing the paper. And this way, if you put it really close together, it's basically perforating it. So you can just tear it. So you set your stitch length really small, and then you sew here. And actually, to get it started, what I would do is put two pieces right sides together, and I would sew on this side. And then after it was sewn, I would open it up, and it would look like that. And then I'd press it, and then I would sew the next one on right sides together like that, and it would just keep going, and you end up with this really super adorable, cute pieced border for quilts or whatever. And I thought it would look really neat for a bag, so that's what I was thinking. I'm kind of getting into bags and on the go storage stuff, because it seems like I'm going to be getting more mobile here in the coming months and years, which is super exciting. Oh, these, okay, so anyway, that's strip pieced border. In this basket, I also have a bag with scraps of batting that I can use to stuff pincushions and whatnot. And then I'm starting bags of just fabric scraps that I realize now I have so much fabric. I could literally make a quilt every day for the rest of my life and probably not use up all the fabric that I have under this roof right now. Well, not make a quilt every day, but I could work 8 hours a day on a quilt every day for the rest of my life and not get through all the fabric I have. So I realized that I need to rehome a lot of it, which is what I've been doing. And some of it is going into bags of scraps to be sold by the pound. And I will list those so y'all can find them if that's something that you're interested in. This shelf right here is actually really special to me. My grandpa made this shelf, and these are my balls. These are my gemstone mineral spheres. This collection used to be a lot bigger. I just kept my favorite ones. I tend to go completely whole hog with a collection, so that's exactly what I did in this case. This is like one of the heaviest collections. Like I used to collect books, and I stopped collecting books because those boxes are really heavy to move from one house to another. And when you move as often as I did, at least at one point in time, yeah, books are heavy. They're really heavy. So I started collecting rocks instead. Anyway, look at this. It's pretty though. See, check it out. And they're all different. This one's one of my favorites too. Ain't it beautiful? Okay, so anyway, I got those all set up over here just as kind of, you know, inspiration, so that even when it's the middle of winter and nature isn't necessarily the most inviting place, and I'm stuck inside and it's really cold even with the heater on, and I have a tendency to get super depressed during the winter, I can look at the lovely rocks and feel better. At least a little bit. Those are my selfie portrait projects that I'm teaching a class on if anybody's interested. There will be more information about that. This will be a boutique wall for inventory, pictures, stuff like that. So anyway, what I do is, this is my sewing area where I have access to, you know, a bigger cutting and ironing area if I need it, but I usually don't. That's only for like really big pieces of fabric. If I need to clear all of these other little ongoing projects off of there to cut big pieces of fabric, I can. But what I usually do is I have this. Yeah, I love this. Okay, so this is just a regular old TV tray that I've had for years, and it just happens to exactly slide underneath this desk that I got on Amazon for like $22. So that's why there's two of them here, because this was a $22 desk, and it's such pretty wood grain stuff. I'm sure that's not real wood, but it sure looks pretty. And it's the perfect height to fit in front of this, and I can still open up the drawers if I need to. I might have to clear stuff off the table to do that, but I have access to the front part of the drawer, which is where I keep a lot of the smaller stuff anyway. Got my iron here, and then I have this work surface in front of me, which is where I can keep my smaller wool pressing mat, and I actually have one that's even smaller than that I keep right here handy, that I can actually use just right here if I need to. And then I've got the rulers that I use most often, which right now, because of the projects I'm working on, I'm using my 12-inch ruler quite a bit. These are actually the ones, these are the ones that I use more than anything else. And I can keep everything right here. Pressing that. And I can just slide this in, and then my foot pedal is down here, and in all of this, moving this around, my foot pedal for the sewing machine did not move once. I also have a little heater down here that has a fan built into it as well. And then here's my stuff for making traveler's notebooks. Here's my watercolor painting stuff. I've got more art supplies back here. Pretty much everything that I use on a regular basis is just right here, and I can get to it all. And all of the fabric and the overflow supplies and stuff that I'll need to get to eventually are all boxed over there, and they are clearly labeled so I can actually find the things that I need. And I have gotten work done. Stuff's getting done, and I could not be happier about it. So I wanted to update everybody. I know that there are people who are waiting right now for me to get some more lessons up on the selfie portrait class, and thank you so much for your patience. Things have been a little bit up in the air since my little buddy got here. I've been quiet, partly because I've been working, but also partly because, man, I really honestly just needed to step back and think and screw my head back on. I have been so unbelievably burned out for the last few years. I don't even know where to start. I always really liked school, and I always got pretty good grades without actually having to try all that hard. I wasn't great with math, and when I got bad grades, it was generally in math classes and some science classes, because the higher up you get in science classes, the more math the science class requires. So I looked forward to going to college, and I loved school. I loved everything about it. I even loved the homework. I loved that in college there were syllabi. Is that how you say that? The syllabus that they hand you on the first day of the class, where you see all of the assignments and everything you're going to be expected to do. You didn't really get all of that, at least I didn't, in the lower, in public school. Being able to see everything that I was going to be reading and all of that stuff was just really exciting. I tended to work ahead a little bit, like for research projects. I would go to the library and I would check out all kinds of books and I'd bring them home, and then I would do my research, and then I'd wait until the night before the assignment was due to actually write the paper. And still usually ended up at least getting a B. Not bragging. Absolutely not bragging. All of this has a point. So whenever I learned 12 hours is supposed to be full-time, that's what's considered to be full-time attendance at college for financial aid reasons. 12 hours is full-time. The college that I was going to, and I think most of them actually, the college itself considers 15 hours to be full-time. 12 hours is 4 classes usually, unless it's a lab class. That you can add more classes. That just because 15 hours is full-time doesn't mean you have to stop. So there was one semester I took. This was after I transferred to a 4-year college. And one semester I did 19 hours. And then one semester I did 21 hours. And then the last semester that I attended that college, 22 hours. My last semester. Insane class loads. Just nuts. And I was also a single mom. And I was having to work 2 jobs. I had to do everything outside of the house during the hours when I had access to daycare. So when I was home, I was doing all of my homework and all of the housework and mowing my own lawn at this rental that I was living at and doing all of the mom things as well. And I just really didn't sleep during the years that I was in college. My point was, I did too much for too long. I just kept going like that. I kind of thought that was how everybody did things. You just keep going and you add more things, because if your family needs things, if you have more time, you should be working, right? It was just like this, just the way my brain's always been wired. I have very, very, very hard time relaxing myself. And so, because I feel like I'm literally wasting my life if I just sit there and relax. Even when I'm meditating, I have to be thinking of it as something that I need to be doing. It's an accomplishment. I need to be sitting there and doing that for this purpose of not allowing my cheese to slide completely off my cracker. This is a task I need to do every morning, so anyway, I went too hard for too long, got by on 20-minute naps the entire time I was in college. And then after I was out of college, I ended up educating my kids at home. And so all of that, that mental steam that was getting spent on college, now it's been shifted into full-time teacher and principal and everything else that I needed to be for that role, for educating my kids and keeping track of their records and things. And it was a lot, but it was its own reward. I knew that my kids were learning what I wanted them to learn, and that they weren't learning anything that I didn't want them to learn, which I think was just as much the point for me. So then my kids grew up, left the nest, and I just kind of lost it. I didn't even know who I was without that much to do. I think there was some very real depression that came with the empty nest thing, for sure. It doesn't feel like your job is completed. At least that's, in the darker moments, it doesn't feel like it's a job completed. It feels like an end to something that I loved. And I've been trying to process that, I think, through a lot of what I've been doing here. Oh, I don't even know what else to say. Okay, I have this one last thing, and then I think that'll be all for now. Okay, so this is my little bucket of accomplishments here that I actually put everything together in one basket because I want to remind myself I want to have, at least for now, I want to have everything in one spot so that I can just, you know, say, hey, look me, look what you can do whenever you just do this and don't worry about anything but doing this. But I don't know. After Rosie arrived, I guess I got to the point where I just couldn't. I didn't have the bandwidth to process what I was already having to process. And this additional, it was just the icing, and I just had to go away for a while. And I basically disappeared from Facebook, and I want to apologize to anybody who was worried. This is what I've been doing, and I don't intend to stay away forever, but I'm not coming back yet because there's still work that I need to do before I feel like I can just, I feel like there are things to do before I take any chances on doing any doom scrolling. This, to start with, this is not my design. This is actually by an account. I don't know the person's name, but the account is called So Demented. It's called the Sew Together bag, and I did the embellishment on the outside to match, you know, what I'd done with the rest of these. So, by the way, I am not good with zippers. I am so pleased with myself right now, seriously, because look, I did a zipper. It was a big zipper. I did it. It works. It zips and everything. Okay, so moving on. What the hell was that? Okay. It opens like this, and then it has all of these nifty spaces, like pockets, that are, you know, they are closed on the ends. And it's actually, it worked. So I get together work. Oh my gosh. It's such a great pattern. You should try it. If you haven't already, you should go make one of these. And then there are also 3 pockets. And I'm planning on making at least 2 more of these. I really want to make one for my friend who just got into quilting. I've known her since I was 12 years old. Hi, Ramy. I really want to make one for her because they're super handy for quilters, and I also want to make one just for hexies. And I think I might even put some kind of a hexie motif on the front of this. I think I just might. So anyway, this is for like scissors and stuff, which I got some wool felt that I want to make some like protective sheaths or something for my scissors. Like I've got some scissors, honestly, that I am not going to put these in this way, and I have nothing to store these in. I wish all scissors came with their very own scabbard. That one, man, that one's sharp as hell. Okay, so that, okay, this is this is the pattern for that. Then this is just a zipper bag that I made. This was actually the first zipper thing that I made out of all this, and you know, it's not perfect, but I'm very happy with it because I did a zipper, y'all. And it's got a lining in here. Not the same fabric on both sides, but it does have a lining. And then this is a traveler's notebook that I still intend to use specifically for watercolor paper, and then I'll make another one that's just a little bit bigger that'll hold a planner. But this is just to do those little cards. You've seen these? I'm getting into them. You tape them off, and then you can, I can fit 3 on each page like this, and you just make these teeny tiny little watercolor paintings. I don't know if I have any handy that I can show you. I haven't done very many of them, and to be honest, I haven't been all that proud of my work. Like that. Don't laugh. It's just, you know, little apple pie and apples and, you know, cider, I guess. Anyway, I was just going to take this with me to go, you know, camping and do little teeny tiny landscapes, hopefully. And so I made that. Then this is a needle book. And that is, these are just buttons that I got from Walmart, or I think actually I might have gotten those from Joann at some point, or Hancock. And then this is Let Your Dreams Blossom. This is a little piece of the selvage of some motif fabric that it might actually be from this fabric line, possibly. And this just has, I'm just basically trying to challenge myself to see how many needles I can fit in this thing. And I don't even have it full yet, but look at that. I really like this. My weirdo needles, the really long one for dolls, and the curved ones. And then I've got some safety pins back here, and I just love this thing so much. And then I made this pincushion. Is awesome. The one I had before was one of those magnetic ones, and I'm on the fence about getting that back out of the giveaway pile, and maybe possibly like putting some kind of fabric over the top of it, and like maybe mounting this to the top of it, because I did like how weighted that magnetic one was. Like this just doesn't have, I feel like I can just knock this, you know what I mean? So God, I say that a lot. Anyway, I may do something, and then it'll be fabric that matches this. I'm not real sure. Am I still recording? I am. Heck yeah. I'm almost done. And then this is my little waist bits, like for teeny tiny little scraps of fabric, and like thread. Whenever I'm sewing, I got like little scraps of thread that just need to go somewhere. So that's my little whatnot cup. And this is a greeting card that I made out of some of my, like I just did a little doodle of these flowers years ago, and I just glued it on there. And there's another little selvage bit, and here's some fabric, and I did this like watercolor stuff here. And then this is just pieces of this with hearts that I cut out, and I even made this kind of weird envelope for it. So the last thing is this. This is my stitch hiker. This is actually something I'm kind of proud of. So I just added this so that it would match the rest of this stuff. Just kind of a, you know, idea. And I put my tag on it. I have these tags that I ordered off of Etsy that have my channel logo on it. And I decided to start adding those to some of this stuff, especially if I'm going to list it for sale anywhere. So this I'm not going to sell. This is the first one, and I'm rather attached to it. And plus it's, you know, definitely imperfect, so I wouldn't sell this one. But I just put this panel on the front to cover the stitching from whenever I put that pocket on, after I had quilted everything together. And this was a prototype. I've been working out some of the issues with the assembly, but this is the reason why I like it so much, because I like to work in my lap, okay? And like at the lake, in the car, on the couch, like it doesn't matter. I find myself constantly working on my lap, and whether I have a lap desk or not, I can literally just lay this in my lap and have someplace to work. And these pockets hold little stuff. This holds slightly bigger stuff. I got a little pincushion needle thing here for those things. But what I love most about this is the bumpers. I have one on the top and the bottom, and I can just tuck my scissors or like my little thread spool, embroidery thread spools. I can tuck them in here and not have to put them in a pocket to keep them from falling off of my lap necessarily. If I have to get up and move, I can just do this and things don't fall out. And I have tested this, man. This works. I love this thing. So I decided to drag it back out and finish it. this is my embroidery practice panel. I am so no good at embroidery, but there's only one way to get better. So I made a little window frame here, and there's flowers growing outside, and so as my embroidery skills grow, so will the flowers, I hope, and it'll be lovely. So anyway, and this is going to go with me everywhere. And yeah, so anyway, my stitch hiker, ta-da! There will be a pattern coming for this, so let me know if you're interested. I'm definitely going to make the pattern anyway. Don't know when I'm going to get to it. I don't know if I mentioned I've got a lot of things going on right now. So, what else? I believe that's it. Oh, I did want to show you this because it was too cute. I have this little, all of my colored pencils and my compasses for my mandala drawing stuff. And my ruler that I use for that. I got this old watering can from one of the boutiques and I had to bring it home with me. Isn't it perfect? I guess I'm going to stop talking now. Thank you for watching for this long, if you're still watching, and I will definitely be back sooner than 2 months from now. I promise. Love you guys. Bye. I have like actual work I need to be getting done today. Have like, you know, an actual job, actual work, things I need to be doing. Lots of them. I wouldn't believe the list. And this wasn't.